Hello, everyone. This is Janet Semenova with Boutique Travel Advisors, and I'm joined today by our good friend and cruise expert, Kathy Smith, who is currently, as we speak, sitting on her yacht in a marina, enjoying some beautiful weather. And we really wanted to take today to be more of just a coffee chat type of conversation, to talk about cruises, to talk about kind of the status of where cruises are heading, what are the changes that the CDC is implementing, how are we going to see cruises evolve and change in the future, when is it safe to book cruises, should you be booking cruises, should you be waiting, and just have just a general conversation about the status of cruising and talk with Kathy about some of her favorite cruise experiences and share some of her best memories and some great insight, because Kathy truly is a cruise guru. So welcome, and thanks so much for being here, Kathy.
Thanks, Janet. Thanks for inviting me on a topic I just love to talk about and experience. So, as you can see, I'm out on the water. I'm a desert girl, as most of you all know, in Las Vegas, born and raised, but somehow the water got in my veins in 30, 40 years ago, and it's never got out of me. So I love cruises, and I certainly love selling them. It's every experience of it is I enjoy so much. So it gets me excited.
So, Kathy, obviously the past year, the pandemic has been really difficult for cruising and the cruise industry, and we're still just starting to see some cruise lines coming back. Maybe we should start by talking about what is on the horizon for cruises, what can people expect with cruises, and is it too early to start talking about cruises?
Well, I don't think it's too early. The one thing that I think that we at Boutique Travel really have an advantage over, we have such a good connection and network with CLIA, the Cruise Line Industry International Association, and of course our signature network. They update us on a daily basis, obviously, as you know, Janet, on what to expect, what each individual cruise line is doing, policies in terms of booking and refunds, and protecting your investment if you do want to book something on and it doesn't pan out. We've all had bookings where we're hoping by the summer or the fall, and then if something happens, all the cruise lines have their own policies to protect your deposits and your payments down the future. So the cruise lines are working with us. Our travel concierge groups are working with us to keep us informed. One of the best things that I think, and this was even before they fully shut down, because I had a number of cruises booked that were canceled, including my own going on a river cruise down the Danube. All the cruise lines have developed their own protocols with the help of CDC. Social distancing, extra cleaning, getting rid of the buffet formats, if you will, for dining, and making sure that those dining practices are good, extra ventilation, all those kind of efforts. But like the CDC and CLIA, the cruise industry has agreed to work together to create what's called a condition of sailing, a CSO. And the condition of sailing essentially is a checklist that every cruise line is going to have to go through before they can sail. Now, when I say the CDC, just to clarify, that's for all the American and US ports, like a Miami departure, or Los Angeles, San Francisco, that kind of thing. Equally, the WHO, World Health Organization, is working with the international and the European ports on the same protocols. One of the best, in my mind, and I think in most cruise industry people, one of the best developments that I think that's helpful and reassuring is they're coming up with a vaccination protocol, if you will. 95% of the guests, as well as 95% of the crew, must have proven fully vaccinated. before coming on board. And I know, it's on the news every day, the pros and cons of vaccine passports, if you will. And I certainly understand the argument against it. But for the cruise industry, I think it's an excellent idea to reassure all of us that, we're all fully vaccinated to get on board. So I'm fully vaccinated. I'm ready.
Me too. Yes, I know. I can't wait. So 95% of guests and crew on any vessel that's going to be cruising have to be vaccinated. So there's really going to be very, very, very little chance of any sort of outbreak on the cruise ship going forward. And this is internationally, or is it just the United States?
Well, that's the CDC's rule. I'll be honest, I haven't seen WHO and the CDC work really in tandem. So I expect that the WHO for the international departures will be the same. When we talk international departures, let's say like a Mediterranean cruise, we're going to have to look at not just the cruise ship, the cruise line variables and rules, but we're also going to have to look at the airlines and the entry ports and that kind of thing. But we're really close to getting there. On the international side, I can tell you specifically, like Oceania and Azamara, those are both very nice high-end cruise lines. They've got bookings right now for August. They're opening up for August for sure. Well, I should never say for sure, but that's where they're at right now. And the second part of that, when I say for sure or whatever, let's say we did book something for ourselves for an October sailing, and God forbid something should happen and they have to cancel us. The cruise lines are giving either full refunds or full credits, and many of the cruise lines are giving even 115% refunds and credits just as a good faith gesture. So I know for myself and several of my clients that are awaiting AMA Waterways to open up, we've got 115% credit on the books right now, ready to go. And it's good till 2023. So some of us are a little more energetic to say, let's go now. And some of my clients are, I want to wait another year. And I respect that. And so it's just your own comfort zone. But I think, as you know, Janet, travel is exploding. People are just chomping at the bit to get out. This little community that we have our boat in Gulf Shores is it's not a cruise community. It's a huge boating community, but people are renting individual boats, private charters and that kind of thing, just to get out in the water, and beach time and condos, and people want to live again. So I'm excited to be a part of that because I want to do it too.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned you're in a private yacht community, and I think that that's such a great point, because for people who want to get back out on the water, who might not be ready to take a cruise, yachting is a hugely popular option right now. I mean, I'm a huge fan of sailing. I'm a huge fan of private charters. I think it's just one of the most incredible ways to see parts of the world and access places and destinations that are really hard to get to any other way. But we are seeing a big increase in demand for yacht charters even for this summer. So, for example, the Greek islands are reopening and people want to get out on the water, and you have a little bit more of a guarantee with a yacht charter than a cruise ship, because the restrictions are a little bit more are different for a 2,000 passenger cruise ship versus a private yacht and charter. So what's kind of the sense that you're getting what's the sense in your community? What are the yacht people, what are they saying? And give us a little bit of an update.
You're breaking up a little bit. I'm sorry. What's the sense of the community on the private yachts? Okay. Yes, we're definitely seeing the demand. In fact, I'm working on a private charter right now with our colleague Angie, in tandem with her, from Miami. And as you know, Angie, Janet, we lived part-time in Miami and chartered our own boat for many, many years down there, and are hoping to reposition her down there again real soon. But yeah, it's booming. It's crazy. And the availability is actually quite challenging for this particular charter because everyone wants to do it. And it is a great, it's not for everybody because it can be pricey, but if you do it with other families, maybe 2-3 couples, or 4, you can really have a beautiful luxury to do anything you want to do. Water sports, go into just using Miami as an example. Jumping over to the Bahamas, which is only 40 nautical miles away, snorkeling, scuba, they'll accommodate whatever you want. Having a DJ on board, jacuzzis on board, 5-star luxury dining. It's quite the white glove pampered opportunity, and it's a party too. I hate to be so. It's a party cruise. You take your cruise. You take your. There's so many places here in the U.S. that you could just take your boat out to anchor just a mile or 2 offshore, throw an anchor out and jump in the water in the not icy, in the warm, beautiful Windex water and have a great time. So there's something for everybody out there in the cruise industry. My mother is 83 years old. She might be watching, so I hope she doesn't mind me telling her age. She doesn't get around as much as she used to, but she loves cruises. She's not jumping off off of a private yacht to go swimming, perhaps, but she is still very accommodated with her limitations that she has, and so do many of my clients. You can be in a wheelchair and have a great time. So
we have a question from
Lori. It's an exciting world.
So Lori Ann wants to know how.
Say that again, Janet. I'm sorry.
Lori Ann wants to know how far in advance should we book for 2022 or 2023?
I would say if you're looking at 2022, to book it now by within the next. We have inquiries and sailings right now for the spring of 2022 right now. So I would say now's a good time. And again, the beauty, Lori, is if things don't work out, COVID wise or whatever, you still got plenty of time for refunds and reimbursements and that kind of thing. So 2023, you've still got some time, but by the end of the year, I'd be looking at 2023 for sure. But now is the time to be looking at 2022, definitely, because everybody's doing it. Everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing a huge demand too for river cruises and expedition vessels, because those are they naturally lend themselves to being a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate. And another cruise line, for example, like Uncruise, that's able to get around some of the restrictions because they're small enough, they're sailing to Alaska this summer. So even though some of the big cruise lines are still limited, the smaller cruise lines are getting around some of these restrictions and have some great values and opportunities, and are, for savvy travelers that know and are comfortable and maybe are vaccinated, it's a great time to secure. Because I think, and Kathy, tell me what you think too, my prediction is that cruising and travel in general, the prices are going to go up. The demand is surging, and everything is a supply and demand game in this world. And as the supply, decreases and the demand stays up, I think we're going to see a huge increase in number of people that want to book cruises, and I think the prices are going to go up.
I agree 100%. And it's not really apples, but if you look at the rent-a-car industry, for an example, it's overwhelmed and crazy. Supply and demand is driving up that $40 a day. Honda Civic is now $150 a day. So you're right. The demand is definitely going up. So, and expedition cruising, I've sold a number of them. I haven't been on one yet. That's certainly on my bucket list. But going back to what you said, they get into the nooks and crannies, and they get off on little Zodiacs and go through like the Galapagos and or Antarctica and all sorts of neat places to be up close and personal. And most of the expedition cruises lines that I'm thinking of specifically, they have National Geographic scientists and explorers and photographers on board, which is a whole nother level of I don't know. I don't even know what word to use. Excitement or expertise on board for those that really enjoy the nature of our world. So that's kind of neat.
So, Kathy, we have some pictures that you were going to share with us and talk about some of your favorite experiences.
Oh, okay. I forgot what I sent you, so I hope they're all good.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sure they
Yeah.
are. Okay, so let's pull some of these beautiful pictures up. What is this?
That's okay. There's a funny story behind that. The Love Boat. I'm aging myself, but I grew up as a kid in the '70s, and the Love Boat, as you know from reruns, Janet, was a huge '70s thing. I remember as a kid, I wrote a blog on cruising many years ago, as you know. As a kid, watching the damn Love Boat. Sorry, excuse my French. And it was these little vignettes of these love stories and all that. And I could care less about that. I just wanted to see the dancing or the cruise port they went to in Mexico or Alaska or whatever. So I was tuned in every Friday night watching to see where they would go. And the funny thing is, it's so different. People had never. I was a travel agent even back then in college, and people didn't even know about cruising back then. The Love Boat really put the cruise market on the map. It really has. Aaron Spelling should be glorified by the $40 billion cruise industry. But it's so different now than it used to be. No one ever heard of a cruise back then. Was just a destination. And I'm sure you've seen the old '40s movies like An Affair to Remember, where you just went from New York to London or that kind of thing as a mode of transportation. It's so not that anymore. And so that's my kind of it's just cute to my heart that the Love Boat started it all, for me anyway, and I think for many people.
Kathy, what is it that you love about cruises? Because I know that you don't just sell cruises. Like, you are a passionate cruiser. Like, you love cruises. Every time we have a conversation, you talk about how much you love cruising, how much you've missed it. What is it about the experience that really just tugs at your heartstrings?
Well, that's a good question, and I don't think there's one answer. I think it's a multi-layered answer. Number one, I think I love the water. I know I love the water. I love being around water, and it's just so freeing. I love the convenience of a cruise. You unpack once in your cabin in your stateroom, and then you're going to, depending on the length and of your stay, you're going to all these multiple different ports and destinations. And some people arguably say, well, 8 hours in Rome or 10 hours in Rome isn't enough. Well, that's certainly true. We all know that. But it's a great way, especially to sample the world, I guess, is for lack of a better word. You wake up one morning, you're in Rome, you go to the next port, to the Amalfi Coast or to Istanbul. I mean, just to see all these places and sample them, and then you go back. My first experience with Rome was on a cruise, and I said, well, I got to go back. I love this because I love history and I like all of that. So it's not just the water. I love being able to touch something that has existed in Greece for 3,000 years. So, I put it on my bucket list to come back, and I do. I've been to Greece on my own multiple times after my first experience on a cruise. I think the other thing I like about it is there's kind of something for everybody. And I've noticed in my lifetime kind of not a morphing, but kind of changing. I mean, I've gone with girlfriends like on Bachelorette. I've gone on a divorce party cruise where all the guests of honor got divorced, and we're just partying to celebrate her new freedom or whatever. And I've gone as a parent, as a daughter, as a bride, as a girlfriend, as a business associate. So there's many ways that you can go, and maybe I want to just lay on the deck and read a book, and maybe somebody else wants to, go parasailing. There's something for everybody. So the activity level attracts me, because no matter who my guests are, or my travel partners are, there's something for all of us. So those are,
I like
I
that
could
you
probably
brought that up because it's so true. Some people think, oh, cruising is just for people who are senior citizens, or cruising is just for couples. No, I mean, there truly is. There's a cruise line and a cruise ship and a cruise itinerary for pretty much anyone and everyone. So tell us about this picture. What is this picture?
and a cruise budget too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, on a cruise budget. Honestly, Janet, I have to say, I don't know this picture.
How funny. Pieces of 8. Well, I think it's one of the it must be a tour, a day tour from one of the ports.
That's what it looks. It looks like a day tour or parasailing. A lot of when you get in board, when you get in with your large cruise ship or your medium-sized cruise ship, they have little, tiki boat cruises, if you want, where you literally are on a tiki, Gilligan's Island thatch roof and drink cocktails and stuff. So that's what that looks like. One of those. It could be also a parasail boat. I don't see the parasail, but that one I'm not. Okay, that was a fun memory. That's on Princess Cruise Lines, and they create a specialty. It's for a little bit extra price, but it's a specialty dining, and it's hosted just by the sommelier and the chef on board, and it's a wine pairing dinner, and every single meal is prepared just specially for you with special wines and pairing with the foods that they're due. So that's quite a fun experience.
And I like that even on a big boat, like a princess boat that might have thousands of people, you can have this very intimate dining experience. You can have an intimate shore experience with a private car and driver. You can be in a higher category cabin and have privacy, right? So it's interesting. You don't necessarily have to dine every night with 50 different people. You can just be with your close group of friends.
Absolutely. And if I could just go back to that dining thing, that particular room, like you could, I've gone with on a conference, a fam, and we rented the whole room out, or rented is the wrong word. We reserved the room out and had a business meeting and a business dining thing. So those are my daughters. We took all the kids a few years back on a Christmas cruise, and I love to take pictures. So of course I brought a Santa hat for everybody. So those are them, and that's our ship in the background. That's a private island that they tendered us into. So again, there's people staying on board, reading their books or whatever, but they tendered us in, and we did some jet skiing that day and paddle boarding and just frolicked and played. So it was so much fun. So,
yeah, and your daughters, who obviously are young ladies, they had a great time on a cruise, and I like that you can do a very easily combine a multi-generational trip on a cruise, because you can have the younger kids, the adults, the grandparents, and everyone has their own kind of time and their own, activities that they could be doing. You don't have to be together 24/7.
Absolutely. My daughters and we've traveled since day one they were born. I think the first cruise for them was like 6 years old, and there was still plenty to do for the 6-year-olds. And as they age, their activities change, but there's multiple. That is off the island of Capri. I've been there about 3 times on several on the different Mediterranean cruises. You could take a boat over. We were in the Amalfi Coast, of course, and then you take a private boat over to the island and a funicular up to the top. So it's just absolutely breathtaking. Interestingly enough, on this particular cruise, I actually bumped into an old colleague of mine that I'm retired now, as you know, from the DA's office. But just randomly, an old colleague from Las Vegas was walking down the streets of Capri. So you never know in the world who you're going to bump into. It's a very small world. So that's Capri.
Yeah, I love Italy, I love Europe, I love Greece, but I like that on a cruise you really can get a taste, especially if, you don't have a ton of time and you might not be able to take, multiple international trips a year, but you want to experience and explore and get a taste of different destinations. It's such a great way to do it because you literally go to sleep at night and you wake up in a different city every morning. And how much fun is that? And if you don't love one city, well, you're going to be in a different one the next day.
Yeah. Absolutely. Mykonos, another favorite of ours. We've been there many, many times. Uh, you, again, you tender in. You tender in from the ship. One time we took a boat cruise around the island. Another time we rented little mopeds, which was quite a challenge because they had like a 1 cc power, and as you can see, it's a hilly environment. But we got all the way up, and of course, we found one of their famous nude beaches. That was a fun experience. You know, if you're in Europe, you've got to find a nude beach to say you've been there and experienced that. So it's a beautiful, and I know Greece is true to your heart too. The people are so wonderful, so friendly. I've never ever had a language problem in any of my travels. I'm certainly not fluent in a million languages, but I always learn a few things like thank you, how much is this, and where is the bathroom, a few things like that. And they do seem to appreciate you trying, but I've never had a language barrier, and I've always met friendly people in my travels.
I love that. I love the fact that you can just meet and make friends with people from all over the world, get to know other people's stories, get to meet, we've made friends. We love our captain from Greece. We still keep in touch with him. We've met some of our friends traveling, and it just creates such a great connection away from all the crazy hustle and bustle of everyday life. You just get to just focus on what's important. Just be with the people you care about. Explore new destinations, have fun, be adventurous, and it's just such a great way to spend time. What is this one?
We're just about to set sail, I think, out of Istanbul. And that could have been one of any departures, to be honest, because they were all so beautiful. But the cruise ships have beautiful deck spacing, and just pulling out of port is an adventure. You go and grab a cocktail somewhere at one of the bars, and you sit out and you just, watch the sunset. Or a favorite thing Dan and I like to do is on the bigger ship, well, on all the ships really, but we love jacuzzis, and that we'll grab our cocktail and jump in a jacuzzi and watch it feels like we're on our private yacht and watch us pull out to port. So there's something for everyone. There's people there play cards. Can you imagine just visiting? There's nothing you can't do. I've seen people play chess and checkers, or I know that sounds kind of maybe passive, but there's so many things you could do and just enjoy the world. And whenever you travel, you're automatically, not that you're going to be best friends with everybody, but you meet a lot of like-minded people. They love travel too, or they wouldn't be there. So Istanbul, beautiful city, very friendly. That's the Saint Sophia. I've been there a number of times. You do have to not just there, but it's the cruise lines help you with customs. They always give you, when you're in before you go to ports of call, you could either go to talks or stream talks, or they'll send you things in literature to kind of update you on protocols and customs and mores for wherever you're going. For example, this reminded me, as women, I had to have a scarf over my head and over my face before I could enter. So it's those little things when you are cruising. You're not on your own just trying to figure it out, walking the streets of wherever you are. You have a ton of expertise behind you for those ports to give you advice and tell you, well, if you're for gentle walkers, maybe you should take this tour that's not so for more adventurous, this has got cobblestone streets. So they're always telling you the cruise lines and certainly us as agents, we're helping you as clients to guide you through what you to be prepared for and what kind of a tour might be best for you.
I'm glad you brought that up because, that's one of the things that we really, I feel, do pretty well. And, anyone can go on and just book a random cruise, but it's not your experience on the cruise ship and off the cruise ship can be so varied. And it's really the reason that we think that people really benefit from working with a travel advisor is because we know a lot of different cruise lines. Kathy's been on almost 40 cruises, and just all of the different cruise ships and all of the different itineraries. And not every itinerary and not every cruise line is right for every person. So it's really helping you navigate and find the perfectly tailored itinerary for you and your interests and your needs. And not, again, you can have 10 different cruises that go to Istanbul or that go through Turkey or go through Greece, and not every cruise is going to be right for every person. So it's also a matter of finding the right activities pre and post. I love, one of my favorite things to do is to put together the pre and the post, because you might get into, Greece 3, 4, 5 days early and spend time exploring Athens and the mainland before getting on your cruise. And maybe you end up in Barcelona and then you spend 3, 4, 5 days exploring Barcelona and getting to see the mainland. And so it's putting all of that together to create a really comprehensive and highly, highly curated experience so that you have that personalization.
Agreed 100%. And the other part too is, and certainly we have a lot of repeat clients that we know, but getting to know your client and their needs and asking the right questions on your desires and what's important to you. Are you a foodie? Are you a history buff? Those are important things for us. And that's the one thing I've always been attracted to with both Janet, with you and Angie and the business that you've built is, and that I'm proud to be a part of, is that you take that time to not just book a cruise. Anybody can do that in 5 minutes. It's about, getting to know that client and what's the best fit for them. That's where, I think we have an edge over other advisors out in the world, or certainly pushing an Expedia or a Button or that kind of thing. So that's in Athens, just outside, right next to the Parthenon. Forgive me, but I can't remember the name of her, but that's Athens. The Parthenon is an excellent example of knowing your client. We took some colleagues before up there that they didn't walk too well, so we had to make sure that they had, because it's quite hilly and can be a little treacherous because there's so much marble on the floor and that kind of thing. But it's a great experience, and it overlooks all of Athens. And
one of my favorite places, but definitely, and the other thing that is important to keep in mind, again, I always say you don't know what you don't know. And so people assume, oh, well, Greece is beautiful. Summers are beautiful. Weather is gorgeous. Athens can actually get very, very hot. And, if you book a cruise to Athens in August, not knowing that, and you have maybe grandparents or parents with you who are elderly and they're not prepared, you can get heat exhaustion, you can get overheated, and it can become, you can take what should be an incredible once-in-a-lifetime experience and have it be really marred by the fact that you're not doing it in the right season or in the right month or in the right style. Maybe you needed a car and driver someplace instead of a walking tour. And it's knowing your clients. You have to know your clients to know kind of what is the best fit for them. And you can't just pick up a phone call with Costco and have them do that. They'll say, okay, yeah, let's book you on this great 8-day cruise. And you get there and it's 105 degrees. And, it really matters how you travel and where you travel and when you travel for every single itinerary, because our needs change, our desires change. If you have young kids with you, we've done Athens multiple times with our kids. And I remember the first time we did Athens, it was July, it was hot, my kids were exhausted. and it wasn't nearly as much fun as it should have been because they got tired. By the time we got up to see, the ruins, they had already been walking for an hour and a half and they were done. And so it's really knowing, how do you do this to make it the most enjoyable trip possible? Maybe you need to go early in the morning or late in the afternoon. Maybe you should go in May or in September, October instead of July or August.
Perfectly said. I couldn't agree with you more. And, being a little closer to home, hurricane season in the Caribbean is, well, essentially it's May through October, but those big heavy months of August, that's kind of risky. And even if there's no hurricane, you could have a downpour of rain every single day, and that's no fun. You want to be out there enjoying it the best you can. So yes, I agree 100%. That is Venice, as I'm sure you can see. The sad part of Venice, and I totally understand, I think we've gone twice on a cruise ship to Venice. They've recently shut down Venice for cruises. It's just too much traffic, and it's overdone. But what a great experience that is, to see Venice and go walk through the St. Mark's Square and see all the beautiful things and everything. Obviously, as you know, is your taxis are by water. It's just very romantic and beautiful. But I wouldn't recommend it on a cruise at this point because of it's just
and Venice is a great example of arriving into a city a few days early or maybe staying a few days later and exploring Venice on foot and really getting an authentic feel for Venice. Because I will agree with you, even before they shut down the port to Venice for the large cruise ships, you don't necessarily want to see Venice just from the cruise ship. You want to walk, you want to get out, you want to walk, you want to spend a few days to really get a great sense of what Venice is. And so that's, again, how do you create the perfect itinerary that maximizes the best places to visit on a cruise ship and then also takes advantage of where you are geographically so that you can maybe hop around and maybe you end up in Rome and your cruise starts or ends in Rome and then you take the train to Venice and spend a few days in Venice. But if you don't really know the geography and you haven't been there many, many times, it's hard to know.
Right. And also too, a lot of my clients, it's once in a lifetime. So, they're not sure if they'll get back, to Italy, anytime soon. So, you've got to respect that, you want to fit in as much as you can for them, but also still making it an enjoyable, because that goes back to why cruises are popular in itself is you're getting a sample of maybe 10 destinations in a 2-week cruise instead of 1 or 2 destinations. That was on Mother's Day.
One of my favorite pictures. I love that photo, and I would love for you to just tell the backstory of what this is.
That's Mother's Day. The backstory is my mom, I was retiring from the district attorney's office before I got back into travel, and my mom said, I'd love to take you on a cruise as a special gift. And I said, well, I'd love to go on a cruise, but I have to treat. So we went on the Queen Mary on Mother's Day a few years back and did a crossing. My daughter, as you know, lives in London. So we flew to London, spent time with family. My mom always likes to do we spent several days in the city doing the touristy things that people like to do. And then we got a private car to Southampton, which is in the south of England. I don't remember now, about an hour and a half drive, maybe a little more. And got on this ship. It was the 10th anniversary of the Queen Mary, too. And Prince Philip, who sadly just passed away a few weeks ago, was on board. And so that was, I didn't get to meet him. I wasn't that special, obviously, but got to see him. So that was really neat. And I learned that was my first transatlantic cruise. So we went from Southampton to New York City. And there was no ports of call in between. we had a moment of silence over the Titanic where she sank, which was very reverent but a little eerie. But this particular sailing, I learned a couple things. One is there's a difference between an ocean liner and a cruise ship. The QM2, like her sister, the QE, is specifically built to cross the ocean, and that's much different than going in and out of the islands from a ship perspective. And stabilizers and all that. But what the QM2 focused on, and I really enjoyed it. It's not for everybody, but they had all these authors on board and artists. They had like art auctions and specialty art people that you could meet, and kind of where you would just meet and greet all these people that were. One day it was an author of a novel, a spy novel, and the next day it was an author of a science encyclopedia. So you meet all these kind of, I don't want to say intellectuals, but there was a lot of things like that to do, and we just enjoyed each other's company and had champagne every day and
so you are literally on, this is so interesting because this is very, very different from a typical cruise.
It is very different.
Up in a port every day, you literally are crossing the Atlantic like out of the Titanic movie, really.
Exactly. Now, to clarify, the QM2 has some beautiful ports of call all over Europe. She goes to Europe and even Asia. She has a whole round the world cruise that you could In fact, a lot of people we met, we just did the 7-day block, but a lot of people are doing they keep going. They do the 14, 21, 48 days, whatever they want to do. So yes, she does have ports of call, but that particular sailing was just a transatlantic. And so it was just us in the ocean and the activities on board. She has a, I forget what it's called. Excuse me. Like where you see the stars in the space. Okay, can't think of what it's called.
Like a planetarium.
Planetarium, yes. She has a planetarium on board. So there's quite a lot of educational activities. And then just honestly, particularly because I was retiring, I loved reading my book and sitting on my deck chair with my plaid blanket on like they show you in the movies from the 40s, and just watching the ocean and having the live music in the background. So those were kind of the fun things that we did. So it was different, but I really enjoyed it.
I love that. I mean, all of these pictures just showcase how many different types of experiences you can really have and still be considered cruising. And then we go from the Queen Mary to this photo, which is obviously completely different experience.
Yes. This is a river cruise. Uniworld, the SS France, we took her through the Bordeaux region, and it was a wine river cruise essentially. So if you love, and this is very different. You can see the low profile of the boat. Obviously, there's only 100 passengers on board, but every bit as elegant, every bit of 5-star dining, white glove dining. That just amazing and all inclusive. The thing that I really enjoyed about the river cruise, and I certainly want to continue to experience more of these, is it's so immersive. We're in these little itty bitty towns, and the ship has 40 bicycles, very nice bicycles with helmets. And you don't have to do this, but we'd get on a bike and with our headset and a guide, and we would ride our bicycles through the little towns and stop at a fruit and cheese. That's one of the vineyards we went to, and just check out the vineyards and stop at the fruit markets and get cheese and bread and wine, and just really immerse yourself in the culture. So it's very, very, very personal. And what you kind of said earlier, because of the size and you're going through the different rivers in Europe, There's a lot of UNESCO sites that they focus on. So we saw some ancient ruins and some really amazing. We didn't get to go because it was sold out, but they had a Baron Rothschild castle tour that we could have gone. I didn't sign up early enough on that one, but it was really, and we met some people on that ship that we still to this day communicate with. It's a wonderful experience, and I think for me, I'm just saying,
how much you just meet like-minded people on these types of trips.
exactly.
The people that want to go on an art and wine cruise, for example, are going to be people that like art and wine. And if you love art and wine, you're going to meet like-minded people. If you go on an adventure cruise to Antarctica, you're going to meet people that love, National Geographic style adventure travel. And that's the beauty of traveling this way and traveling by cruises, but really picking the right cruise and the right itinerary for each and every trip.
Right. And so many of the river cruise lines focus on theme cruises too. There's one, throw a couple examples. There's several always do the Christmas markets through the Danube. I mean, if you've never seen the Christmas markets, it's something to see. They're so beautiful and so elegant and so festive. And you don't have to go for Christmas because obviously people have their own family obligations perhaps, but Christmas holidays start in Europe in November because they don't have Thanksgiving, right? So after, the 1st of November, the Christmas markets are up. So there's a Jewish heritage cruise that just focuses on, the war and the different things that UNESCO sites related to the Jewish culture. So there's so many things. There's jazz festival cruises. Like I said, this was a wine cruise, so obviously it focused a lot on wine and pairing and all of that, but you could equally just do a jazz thing. And the other thing too, one thing we haven't talked about yet, Jen, I really want to get this in, not just for river cruises, but cruises. Entertainment on board is phenomenal. I mean, we've all, I've been to Broadway shows in New York and in London and all of that, but they rival those kind of shows. So there's always entertainment on board, whether it's a little jazz trio in a lounge or a big multi-stage extravaganza that looks like a Las Vegas show. I mean, there's something for everybody. That is we rented a cabana on one of our Mediterranean cruises, and again, cruises they're more and more catering to you as an individual. We rented a cabana for the whole day. We had a bottle of anything we wanted to drink and fruit and vegetables and high tea, and it's our own private little area. So I mean, not to be too specific, but if I wanted to be topless, I could have been. What?
And right on a cruise ship.
Right on a cruise ship, exactly. It was our own private for the whole day. I could have had, I think you can see, well, I'm not sure. I could have had a massage there if I'd wanted, right? And there's a huge big screen TV if I want to, which I didn't, of course. But if you want to watch a Super Bowl game or something like that, you could do that if you want. I mean, there's nothing you can't do. So I experienced that multiple times. So that's fun.
This was so great and so informative, and I love your energy talking about cruises. Again, I think, at the beginning of this pandemic, all of us were nobody knew anything, right? We were all like deer in the headlights. What is happening? I mean, nobody knew how long it was going to last, how severe it was going to be. We just didn't know. And now that, parts of the world are still really grappling with it, but parts of the world are really doing a phenomenal job of getting their citizens vaccinated and having access to care. And I think that, initially we thought, well, there's this mass exodus out of cities and nobody's going to live in the city anymore and nobody's going to ever go to a show again and nobody's going to ever go on a cruise again. And that's just not true, because the phone calls that we're getting are people saying, when can I go to a city? I miss concerts. I miss shows. When can I go on a cruise line? I want to be with other people. When can I go and explore the world? When is Europe going to be fully open? And so these are more the questions we're getting now. And, again, I think that as the world starts to reopen, the demand has been really pent up, and more people, not less people, I think more people are going to want to experience things like cruises, because all of us were so cooped up for over a year. And I personally miss being with people. I'm a people person. I want to be out, and I like to be, as I call it, alone with others. Like, I like to go to an exercise class and have people be around me. I like to be on a cruise boat and have people be around me. I love to talk to new people and meet interesting people. And I think that it's just a great way to travel, and a great way to experience different things. Somebody asked this, can you talk a little bit about options for cruises for the eco-conscious, sustainably minded traveler? I think that's a great question, because I know a lot of cruise ships are making more and more of an effort for sustainability and eco-consciousness. I know a lot of the luxury cruise lines are extremely mindful about eco-friendliness and are doing a really good job of lowering their carbon footprint, and also focusing on sustainable, locally sourced ingredients for their cuisine, supporting local farmers and local markets, sourcing their ingredients for the food that they're making locally, as opposed to bringing it all in. So I think that's a great question, and I know that that's a push that was happening before the pandemic, and I think will be even more prominent during, post the pandemic.
I agree 100%. I saw that trend way before pandemic, as far as the locally sourced and farm to table dining and all of that, particularly on the river cruises, which is wonderful because you get to, truly taste the local cuisine, and just simple. I say simple, but you won't see straws on board, and those plastic and cups that you used to see, and bottle. Most cruise ships really try to. And they'll give you, depending on, a lot of them give you a bottle, water bottles and things like that for you to fill up, rather than buying bottled water, and you don't see straws and things like that. As a boater ourselves, we, just, our oceans are precious, and you need to keep them clean, and we it's a fact of life. We see those plastic bags from the grocery stores in the water almost every day sometimes, and it's all of us have to do our part to make those changes and keep our oceans clean. So,
well, this was so great. Thank you so much, Kathy. I think the takeaway, if you want to book a cruise, now is the time to do it. If you want to talk about cruises, Kathy is one of our cruise go-tos. I mean, all of us love cruises and are happy to work with clients. But, Kathy, I think, anyone who wants to talk about cruising can definitely reach out to you and get advice and help you. You can help them secure the right cruise for them and make sure that everything is set up and perfectly curated. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Janet, for having me. I really enjoyed it. So,
and I can't wait to see you in person, and I want to visit you on that boat.
Absolutely. In fact, we were talking, when we repositioned to Florida, somehow you'll have to pop over for the weekend.
Perfect. I'm there.
All right. You talk here. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.